Well, obvious question, I guess, Michael Bevan, is what are you looking forward to coming back to Canberra for the gala? I guess it's a chance for you to catch up with people you haven't seen in a long time.
Look, I always enjoy coming back to Canberra for starters. It holds pretty dear memories to me. The family's back there, so it gives me the opportunity to see them, gives me the opportunity to, as you said, reconnect with a lot of sort of former players and competitors and reminisce about probably memories that have been at the back of my mind for quite a long time. And so, what's old is new again. And obviously it's a big event for Canberra cricket, and of course it's nice to be a part of that.
It's a big event for Canberra sport, if we're honest. How do you reflect on the ACT's place in Australian cricket now compared to what it was like when you were coming through the ranks, which was a few years ago now, we have to say?
Quite a few years. That's a generous way of saying you're getting old, Bevo. You're only as old as you feel. No, look, I think now is hard for me to comment on because I've sort of slipped out of the loop. I don't have a lot to do with, New South Wales cricket, Australian cricket, let alone cricket ACT. And so it's really hard for me to comment on where it's placed now. I know that it continues to be a pretty strong player breeding ground for quality cricketers, first-class cricketers, and provides an opportunity for the young cricketers of ACT to ply their trade and to become recognised. So from that standpoint alone, obviously it's vitally important. And I would say that was what it was like for me when I was growing up as well. I mean, we sort of had an underdog tag, a bit of a small team syndrome. And so, for me, that was the space that I grew up playing for ACT, competing for ACT against some of the larger areas and state associations when I was coming through the ranks.
What are your memories of junior and senior cricket? You did play a bit of senior cricket before you headed off to the academy. You were a Western Creek junior, and full disclosure, I played for Western Creek myself. I think you had a couple of seasons with Tuggeranong though before you left.
Yeah, I did. I moved a fair bit. I think my original junior cricket was through Wests. Then I moved across into Western Creek. Yep. Struggled for, at that point in time, I was a fast bowler.
I was going to say you were more a bowler, weren't you, when you came through?
Correct, and sort of struggled to make it through with any consistency at the Western Creek club as a bowler. And my recollection at that point in time is that, obviously I harboured ambitions to play first grade. Probably didn't cut it from a consistency perspective at Western Creek. At the same time, I was sort of going through a back injury, which really precluded me from chasing my fast bowling dreams any further. Sort of made the transition across to Tuggeranong as a batsman. And, at that point in time, I had only really been a bowler who was a batter, in the positions of number 8 or number 9. And as soon as I stopped bowling, for whatever reason, at about that time, my transition as a batsman took place very quickly and strongly. And I started to perform from sort of day one of being an out-and-out batsman. And it sort of, it became about that, whilst I was, for the last couple of years, whilst I was still residing in Canberra.
And thereby creating an instant piece of Western Creek Tuggeranong rivalry that I'm pretty sure still lingers now.
Does it?
No doubt.
Well, it could be, and again, it was, both clubs were very good to me, and with all with all honesty, not receiving, an opportunity at Western Creek was probably, fair and reasonable. Because I was a little inconsistent. But with the bat, I wasn't after I made that transition, and by that stage it was all with Tuggeranong.
The platform that ACT cricket and cricket in Canberra gave you as a youngster, how do you reflect on that when you put it in the context of the career you went on to enjoy?
Yeah, I alluded to it before, but coming from a small territory, a small cricketing area, it was really eye-opening for me, for a guy who was quite motivated and knew that, I knew that I wanted to pursue cricket as a career, yet doing it from a place that didn't have a first-class team. Playing it against sort of the big states, particularly in underage tournaments. And so it was a real eye-opening experience for me, not only coming through the Canberra ranks, because, there were so many great players that I looked up to and wanted to be, just as good as, but then making the transition across and keeping it in context and understanding that, look, reality is, if I wanted to go off and play for Australia, then the guys that I really looked up to in Canberra cricket, I would have to surpass in skills and performance at some stage. And so really understanding that pitting my skills against the best state cricketers was where it's at, and so sort of I was under no illusions that it was going to be a pretty significant task.
What was the breakout moment for you? Like it wasn't quite just playing at Chisholm and Stirling one day and suddenly starring with the bat on Australia Day in 1996. What was the turning point for you?
Look, I don't know if there really is one turning point. Look, if people ask me, did you think that you were going to play for Australia? I don't know. Did I want to? Yes, I wanted to. So I was happy just to chase that dream without actually ever recognising or acknowledging that I was good enough to do so, I suppose. I guess a big one for me, probably the two turning points, I suppose, or the two periods that shaped or helped shape my belief in transitioning across from an ACT, a good ACT cricketer to the bigger stage, was the under-19 carnival. Where I became the top run scorer there, followed by the AIS. So I suppose at that point in time, I knew I was good enough to mix it with the best. And then, of course, after that, playing first-class cricket, scoring my first century with South Australia, but then going on to score 5 centuries in a row with New South Wales the next year, probably solidified my belief that, clearly I was good enough to get as far as I wanted to go. And then reality kicks in and you've got to deal with, all the things that hold you back and consistency issues and so, but they were probably the two interesting turning points for me. In addition to probably 2 or 3 matches I played with Cricket ACT against country 11 teams and second 11 for state teams, where I performed really well and scored centuries. So I kind of knew then that I was, doing something right.
Did you have moments and you went on to the rest, as they say, is history. Did you have moments there where you thought this is actually all right for a kid who grew up playing cricket in Canberra?
I didn't really view it like that, I've got to admit. And there were enough challenges, significant challenges in my career where it kept me on the ball, or never to the point that I was 100% satisfied, which I'm not saying is a good thing. sometimes it's nice to be grateful and satisfied for what you've achieved, and to have that context. And arguably I probably should have taken that view more often. But no, for me, the challenge for me to maintain my standard in one-day cricket and to play as many test matches as possible was kind of paramount for me, and it sort of stopped me from getting sort of too complacent.
Yeah. Look, Michael, we're really looking forward to having you down here for the gala it's a little bit over a week's time now. We've got a really interesting chat lined up with you, which I'm very pleased to be part of. Thanks so much for giving us some time, and we'll see you down here in a little over a week.
Yep, thanks for the easy questions, and I look forward to attending the event and being part of Cricket ACT's history.
More easy questions on the night, mate.